phone as well.
15 on my watch.
16 on Ian's watch.
Yeah, I know it's supposed to be today.
I know it's on 16.
Today was all decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Didn't see it.
Sorry.
I looked at lunchtime to see if there was any.
Apologies
Nothing
for
that
that.
maybe.
I haven't had time to
Council,
say.
McDonald's Council, I had the radio on and with the news. of it.
Councillor Scud is on his way, but he had some important business for a very important person he needed to deal with. But I did see him. He asked me to pass on his embarrassment, I mean his apologies. Is it too late?
Thank you. Disclosure of interests. Public questions.
Has Northumberland County Council been informed by Felton Parish Council of the vacancy?
Yes.
So why hasn't there been?
That's a good question. I will,
Well, it's we have to maintain a full 10 councillors, so it's actually. I'm quite surprised that he's surprised. This has been. Tony was resigned 2.5 months ago, and the next parish council meeting is not till February, so that's another 2 months. So that's 4.5 months without the councillor.
thank
Point
you.
noted.
I'll look at that.
Any other questions? Minutes of previous meeting. Councillors, any questions? We've all had them, so I presume you've all read them and digested them previously. Okay, all those in favour?
I will read the table copy.
Finance. To receive financial summary and budget monitoring. Is that what you emailed?
Yeah, apologies, this was late. I had issues with my card reader, which turned out to be battery issues.
This is state of play for the moment.
Yes.
Shouldn't be any queries.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Which, can you, what are we looking at? The budgets?
No, just the ordinary
And where's,
financial position, financial position at
what
30th.
page were they in? Page,
They were following late. John's got a copy there if you want.
thank you.
Everybody happy?
Yes, they all seem to be very positive balances at this stage of the year.
Yes.
Which is-
To authorise payments, page 8.
We have had, we have also had an invoice in for the tree survey, for £385, but it missed the date of the agenda, so I'll pay that, it'll appear on the next agenda. 385.
Is it just this?
Yeah.
1,000,
Correct,
your salary,
and Peterson.
everybody approving this? All those in favour? You may get some food this week. To discuss email regarding funding for warm spaces and to agree any action.
This was, I've had a couple of emails in about warm spaces, just in order that Councillor Cooper can replenish as he needs to. One of them was for his wife. She's involved with the warm pub group that have been arranging warm spaces at the gallery and at the den, and I think also to some extent at the hall for those drop-ins, yeah.
Just on that, obviously, I would assume there would be a conflict of interest there between the Parish Council and that group, so while I would have liked to be a part of that, I decided not to be a member of it, and so Rosie and I are just volunteering, so if there is anything that comes from them, I don't think.
I haven't had an official request for a donation, but I put it on the agenda because Rosie had said, did we know of any funding that was available for warm spaces? I know that it's something that's been mentioned amongst the councils on a couple of different occasions. I wondered whether there was anything we could do and wanted to do. NCC.
London warm spaces. Because when I was chasing London through the village hall, said will be a warm space on which they was funding for warm spaces, but we weren't officially open all the time every day. Coffee bar.
Well, I'm wondering whether that'll be the same for the gallery.
Gallery's open every day.
I suppose so.
Everything's on all the time.
Yeah.
Well, they just making available on Tuesday.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware.
They are, but
The upstairs, but I suppose you could go in.
Oh, right, that's okay.
Alison Rushby put an article in the Bridge about various organisations that's working at various times where people are welcome.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So no action, no direct action. I just wanted to put it on the agenda because I know that we've sort of talked about around it. The other person, Keith Trout, I think he's called, he seems to be taking a lead from the Warm Spaces group. He set up a meeting with EARN, which is something like Energy Advice for Rural Northumberland. That's he's just put the date on the Facebook page. I think it's next week. It's a daytime event for people to drop in and get advice about energy, reducing energy bills. So it sounds like there's a few things going on.
But have we actually had any requests for any?
Not a direct
Not
request.
request for anything.
Okay,
Just to put it on there.
Somebody said that we support it. The initiative, I think it's a really good community initiative. I think it would be good for the Parish Council to say that we would support the warm hub.
can we promote this on our social media page? Item 5D, to note the National Fair Award. We all see it, what it is. This is for our information. Budget for the year ending, to agree the budget, we have the papers.
So this has been through the Finance Committee. We spent quite a long time line by line reviewing it. You'll have seen from the notes, the minutes were enclosed with the agenda from the Finance Committee, so you'll have seen sort of their discussion, their thought process in the minutes. Basically started off with 3 different approaches, 3 different budgets, a sort of high-end budget, a middle-of-the-road one, which would produce a similar precept to the current year, and then a really cost-saving one, but that meant that we would be using up all our reserves. and the finance committee have ended up somewhere in between the high spend and the medium spend budget. So what I've done in the budget column, which is on the very far right of this document, is I've shown in minus figures where we're taking money out of reserves in order to meet the cost of the audit.
Do we need to go through it line by line? Anybody want to pick any items?
What's the numbers on the far right then?
So so that's notes on the final page.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So what are the minuses?
There where we're taking money out of reserves to meet the cost of audit. I don't know if anybody from the finance committee wants to sort of say anything more.
No, I think, well, as chair of the finance committee, we did go through it all in detail, and I'm happy with what we're proposing. It is a budget. It's not saying what we will spend, it's saying how much we're allowing ourselves under each heading. And we try to get a balance between not increasing the precept by very much and not exhausting our reserves where we have reserves, so it's sort of taking a sensible approach as far as possible.
Looks sensible, just a bit sad, isn't it?
One small fly in the ointment has just appeared in the last day or so. The tree inspection, 8 recommendations of urgent action in an extremely thorough report, very professional, very thorough, very complete, but there are these 8 recommendations of urgent action. We will need money for that. Now we've been warned, obviously we can't ignore it, so we need to get professional services fairly promptly. What sort of figure to allow for it? I've no idea. I would think a minimum of £1,000.
I mean, we will still have 1,000 after we've spent money on the ramp. We will still have money in the environment or in Riverside pot, which would deal with some of the trees there. The cemetery has money still in its reserves, which could deal with any tree work at the cemetery. So it's really the work in that field that we have to decide if we've got enough in the budget for. Just, I mean, we can pay from different. I think we can pay from different pots for tree work.
You're a finance officer.
Where are
So
the
what-
8 trees located that need
All
urgent
around.
action?
All around the place.
Right. So I mean, is there a predominance on Redfield, or are they just generally around the village all over?
Riverside of the wreck.
Is the Riverside not comprehensive?
Yes.
Well, where do you draw the boundary?
Where that tree is?
I've skimmed through it.
I think in the past they've told us that they are above the edge, the vertical edge is the boundary.
Is that tree, the tree that wiped out the ramp? The
That was-
council dealt with
But
that.
that was on the top. I think it's
Yeah,
the
but
base
there's
of the
one
top.
further down the tackle as well.
Or they might have just done it while we were on site, but I don't think they accepted. I think it wasn't theirs.
It's something that we can't just put on the back burner, unfortunately.
No.
We need to get,
Yeah.
we need to do it.
So if we're going to separate budgets, do we get quotes for each area?
That's one approach.
We ideally need to fix our budget tonight because otherwise we'll have to have an additional meeting because it has to be submitted in January for our February meeting.
We wouldn't have a rough idea of cost for this, because I know that when my parents had a dead ash taken out, which was, it wasn't a large tree, but I think it was in the region of £250 to get that safely felled. So I think that a rough estimate of 1,000 is going to be, we're going to need to double
Is it 8 trees to come down?
No,
No, some of it's
it's-
groundwork.
this came in,
It only, only sort of today to send round.
I would be quite careful making a budget for something that none of us are there.
No.
No.
I think that
I don't think £1,000 to look after 8 trees is anywhere near enough.
Well, they're the ones at the school were taken down the year before last, and they're about £1,000 each to come down,
Right.
those ash trees. How much were in the cemetery last year with Arwen?
They were just small jobs though really.
I mean,
They were more clearer jobs rather than big.
Building jobs.
One came out.
Yes.
Claire, do we have other reserves, substantial reserves apart from the environmental fund? Because I don't think we should even estimate an amount until we've all had a chance to read through the report and we've got experts in to tell us, to give us some quotations.
well, we've got to
But
produce
if we got reserves,
I mean, I think it's back
then
to
we
the
can
budget.
draw on the reserves. We don't have to change the budget.
I projected general reserves of about 6,000, just over 6,000 at the end of the year. So they're like unallocated reserves, but they are to cover usually unexpected expenditure. So if we dip into that pot, we would probably be looking to top it up the following year back again in the
Yeah.
budget.
Well, that's what I would propose.
any other proposals? Do we pick a figure out of thin air for the moment?
I don't know.
Well, if we do nothing, it's do nothing, or we
We're not going to do nothing. We're
We're
going to do,
what said in the budget.
we're going to, the budget doesn't matter. We don't have to budget for the actions that we take. We have to take the actions
Yes.
and then pay for them out of our funds. And the budget is only a guideline for what we're anticipating. At the moment, we cannot anticipate what this will cost. So we have to, I mean, if it was going to increase the precept significantly, then we will need another meeting when we've got more information. But I can't see that happening. I think we will pay whatever we need to pay out of reserves if it's not already budgeted.
How much could our reserves stand a hit of?
Well, they could take more out because when I did the budget C, the cost saving budget, I took more out reserves than we have now. So there are other reserves that we could withdraw money from if we had to.
Can we borrow from, say, the building reserve on the rec?
I think so if we needed to, as long as everybody was agreed that that was an acceptable use of the funds and that it was put back, we put it back next year.
This is following Richard's principle. Everybody happy with that?
I mean, we have got some funds. I mean, if you look, we would only have like 1,500 in environmental.
What's that for?
That's for things like, we've used that for the ramp and maintenance down there. We've been building up because we knew there was going to be a cost for the ramp, but I've allowed for that. I mean, I've spent 5,000 on that.
Just surely if it's on one side and then some on Recklade and some in the cemetery, then you would take it out of each budget.
Yeah,
for each
that's what I'm
place.
saying.
Yeah,
So you would have a little bit, and we might just end up with a shortfall for the field, but we could take that. I think we could find that if we needed to.
But as long as the money's there, it's like, if we
Yeah.
get another unexpected hit, it's not looking good. But it has to be done. The money's got to be somewhere, but it's,
It's going to cost 4 figures.
Yeah.
Why don't we just add a provisional sum at this point to offset the cost?
Put £2,000 in, or £1,000 in.
I think
It's going to be more than that, but I just think it's in that various pots. It's just to
Yeah.
top up whatever.
Well, it's, unless we're going to change the precept, it doesn't make any difference.
Well, it would make
It just means we're saying we're going to spend 3,000 of the 6,000 reserves we've got.
Yeah. Well, it would change the precept if we put something in, so it would increase it corresponding. So whatever we put in, if we put £1,000 in, that will put £1,000 onto the precept.
Right, okay.
Which costs every house in the village normally.
Mm.
Well, I would be in favour of trying to find it from somewhere else.
Okay.
I mean, this
Me
is
too.
actually wanted to lower the precept as well in the face of the cost of living. It's just, oh.
Okay, so in that respect, everybody happy that we take it out of reserves? Although we will have to think about replenishing it in the following year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much the cost of living.
Always do what people Otto did.
Okay, we'll take it from reserves.
So back to the budget, we need to approve this budget and then approve the precept. Is everybody else happy with any other questions on the budget as it stands?
Gemma? Happy? Richard?
I'd vote for this budget.
Right, so we've got a proposer.
John?
Yeah.
I can't propose on the chair.
Yes, I'll go with this budget.
John, fine.
Ian?
Yep.
Opposed? Seconded? Yeah. All in favour? Thank you.
Okay, so that will set the precept then at £41,001. I don't know where the £1 came from.
Rounding error.
No, I think it's just that that's how much we spent about the random amount sometimes.
Right, item 7, committees and working groups. Receive minutes for committee meetings, page 11.
So it's the cemetery and the finance committee.
Draft minutes, finance committee. Important, again, we've all had these for a while. Everybody happy? Hang, you're looking pensive.
No, it was just something about glass in the cemetery I was remembering and just
Family, I think.
following that up. What?
Just having a frown about it.
Yeah. No, it was dangerous.
7B, to receive any other updates from committees and working groups on matters and actions since the last date.
Anything else?
Standing item, parish representation at meetings. I don't think there have been any. Apart from Bellway, which Bellway's expressed there. Anybody not there? We're all there, Bellway's. I've not heard anything, I've not heard anything as far as the school is concerned either.
If we set a date for a next meeting with them, I couldn't remember.
Okay.
I think the next stage was they were going to put in a pre-application inquiry to the planning department, see what sort of response they get.
I'm surprised they don't know already, but still.
Well, they wouldn't have bothered having a meeting if they knew already. And what I've heard.
You may remember a few months ago I said I'd applied to the county council for this free tree giveaway thing.
Sorry.
Do you remember a few months ago I said I applied to the council for the climate change initiative that the county council had?
For your free trees.
For a free tree. We've got them. I've got 120 trees in a tiny little box, and everything that comes with it, so the wildlife protection and the stakes and stuff like this. So we've got them now. I guess the biodiversity group would be the best people to talk to about them, but just to say that we were awarded them, and I believe they've all gone to good homes now, so which is good. So, as in the rest of the trees as well.
It wasn't my crap.
Well, they lost his and they've found them again.
Yeah, well, they lost 120 trees to them. They mysteriously turned up again, and I went to collect them, and they've given up everything to plant them and guidance, couple of them and all that sort of stuff. So that's pretty good.
And when's good tree planting season?
Generally, yeah, really. So as long as it's still cold.
The ground's wet,
Yes,
supposed to
absolutely.
be maintained.
Obviously, having the trees now planted, it's just to
Yeah.
get that in.
But they're bare root trees, so that they sort of sit dormant. So you don't have to do something imminently this week, but it would be good to get something done. And I'm volunteering for it.
Were you volunteering? Was that your
Right.
thing? Oh, well, there you go.
Good man.
Well, I'll volunteer the scout group to come and take some
That's
models.
it.
Have we any idea where they're going?
Well,
I think we've got to decide that first.
I don't,
Well, the other thought was suggestion.
yeah, so wherever it seems necessary, I guess, then they all name.
What about that little lake eye up near the A1?
We just get squashed by cars.
It's
into
not
it.
like ours, I think, but
They put up a big fence.
is that not their land?
What kind have we got? They're just
There's
mixed.
a good mix, 120 mixed Northumberland.
Is it worth putting some behind the fence at Riverside, you know, where we put
Is
the
that up there? Are we
Parish Council as well? Well,
Yeah.
just pop them in.
So how big are these trees? Trees.
Fence is mixed.
Are they like,
Well, there's a mix of them, so there'll be a mix of, some trees that'll stay shrubbery.
Was it last time? It was cherry, hazel, rowan, hawthorn.
Yeah.
I think it was.
So if you plant next to the hawthorns close together and with a hedge, or
that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
But anyway, it's a good problem to have.
In terms of the item B about receiving updates from the committees and working groups, we missed the bit about the Parish Council meeting about the garages, wasn't
I was
mentioned?
about to ask. Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't done the minutes by the time this agenda went out, it was only a little while before. What happened at the garages meeting, we discussed it. There was quite a number of members of the public in attendance who gave their viewpoints. They discussed it.
And the
Parish
council
discussed it.
said they would oppose in their comment, statutory comment to the planning authority. We were asked by the members of the public who came, who represented the men's group of the garages and allotments, who made a very good case, because they need to keep the group going as well as have the garages and access to the allotments. So the council has sent a comment.
Not yet, it is
Not yet,
drafted.
oh, right.
It is drafted. I
And
got
we
an extension.
encourage-
I got an extension to put it in.
We didn't encourage everybody who was here to make comments. I have made a comment today, because I wasn't sure when the closing date was, but they're not very many so far.
And because I wanted to see some of the documents that had been printed, so as of lunchtime, obviously I had noticed that the Parish Council hadn't made a representation, and there had been a couple of
No, I have
extras.
asked.
No, you
asked
said,
for
I did
extension
hear
on
it, yeah,
yeah.
sorry, I did hear that, yeah. But I could concur with what you've said, just in terms of what I'm hearing, in terms of the village, that it's very important that the men do have somewhere to
Yeah.
congregate and actually share sort of the facilities that they have in maintaining sort of their, their own homes and their cars and the allotments. It's a core group, so it seems
Yeah.
doesn't seem very fair that they're being sort of turfed out. But I also noticed that within the documentation was the highways development, the highways application, the consultee response was quite not damning, but they're declining their sort of support for this. bearing in mind that it was the council that actually put this application in, it just seems pretty bizarre that there's the NCC application and then as NCC Highways are actually sort of pulling it to bits because certain things hadn't been considered. And it's this clash. Do you not work together?
Of course we work together.
But this is an example where it hasn't seemed to have worked.
As someone who sits on the planning committee, I shouldn't really comment, but it is a group. You know, it's not the council. The council is putting the application in, but there's this group called Husk that have developed this garage project all through the country. And obviously, you know, as a county councillor, chairman of strategic planning, I've been invited to view some of these Husk developments, which, you know, have taken over garages and converted them into bungalows for old people in the centre villages and towns. So, you know, it has happened elsewhere. But, you know, what I would say is, as with any application, you know, it succeeds or falls on the boxes it ticks. And again, if the highways aren't right, you know, the county council just, you know, has to say they're not right. You can't tick the box just because it's a council application. So, you know, these things move forward, and as they move forward, problems come up, and they've got to be considered. And sometimes they get approval, sometimes they don't. And, you know, quite often highways don't support applications because they don't think the access is good. And really, that's the way it should be. But yes, we all do work together and consider everybody's comments, but often they come from all sorts of angles. And as with any planning application, you know, some things are good about it, some are bad. And at the end of the day, it's left to the people on the planning committee to balance this, to weigh up the pros and cons, and hopefully come to the right decision.
And Trevor, is this definitely going to come to committee? It's not really decided the case officer?
It'll definitely come to committee. I think it's too controversial not to.
That's what we thought, but we just...
Yes, we did ask that it should go to committee because it is pretty...
Trevor, can I ask, who at county is pushing for this?
I don't think anybody at council.
Somebody must be seeing that this moves forward.
Well, there is this group called Husk who, you know, see the benefit in taking these redundant garages, some of which are redundant, and converting them into, you know, good properties for all people. And the great thing about these sites is that often, you know, they're not to buy, they're sites that the council owns because they've had garages on them, garages that we don't need anymore. And, you know, one of the beauties is they're central sites. They're not, you know, on the periphery of a village or a town. They're right bang in the middle because their garage sites belong to houses. So, yes, you know, there is a group within the council, officers that are pushing this project, you know, for good reasons. But obviously, you know, here in Felton we do have a problem with it, don't we? Because, you know, our guys in the garages say, you know, they would like to keep those garages and they need the garages. And, you know, they've got to be listened to. And as with any other.
So, if this is a formula that's being used elsewhere within the country, how come that the thing to do with the parking is illegal and therefore shouldn't go as far as this? They're only allocating one parking space, and any 2-bedroom or more property must have a minimum of 2 parking spaces. So the actual basis of the application, if it's been rolled out elsewhere, how come it's been allowed to actually even get as far as a discussion?
Yes. Well, I must admit, the ones that I have visited have had virtually no parking spaces. You know, it's a project often, you know, looking at 8 or 10 garages, and you end up maybe with 4 bungalows. And the 2 sites that I visited didn't have any parking as such. They were for elderly retired people.
I'm elderly and retired, I can still drive.
Well, you can.
Just go back.
I think, you know, they didn't see the need for parking spaces. They saw that
Probably find the central
these dwellings
Yeah, there's, I don't think
would
it's,
be serviced by public transport.
I don't think it's suitable for Felton, really, and you have an informed position on it. And, you know, the people of Felton, the people who vote you in, are desperate for this not to happen.
Yes, well, exactly, and I'll take due cognizance of that, of course I
It
will.
would be great if you could.
But I can't say now.
No, well, of course.
But just to give you a steer on what I'm doing from the Parish Council's point of view, from the objection, I've been digging through the local plan and looking at things like that that developers shouldn't have a detrimental effect on welfare, that they have to seek to improve community amenity, community welfare, health, social side of things, so all of those sorts of social aspect policies, because I think that's what the garages represent. They're more than just a storage space, really, that they're a meeting place for a group of people that don't really have another outlet. You know, it's almost that allotment community feel. They've got their garage and their allotments, and they meet there, and you know, so that's the way. Just to give you a sort of heads up, that's how I'm going to be approaching it from an objection point of view.
I get that.
Along with the parking and the access.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the access
Yes.
has already been mentioned by highways as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Can I just ask, because I submitted those questions to you when I realised I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
The one about whether or not they'd actually allocated this housing to people within our community already when they were pushing forward. And this is something we discussed that with them from the offset, that they said that this housing should be available to people within Felton, and the whole idea was to free up larger properties as social housing, and yet they had no kind of applicants list or anything about any kind of people who were actually interested in living there. Had they done anything about that?
No, they've mentioned it to say that they're going to prioritise, but they don't say how again.
So again, we were looking at actually bringing more people into the village and more cars rather than actually freeing up housing within the village.
There currently is empty council properties in this village.
There are.
There is.
There are.
There are. There's 2 on Farm Road. Richard.
Right.
You said Husk is a group. That's a very coverall term. Is it a commercial company?
Yes, it's a
Yeah,
commercial
okay.
outfit that
So
actually
they don't care
develops
whether
the.
they're garages or
Well,
whether people
no.
got parking spaces or not, as long as they do the conversion and get their money.
Well, they're the commercial arm, but you've got to look at your local
Yeah,
planning
no, I
committee
understand that.
to consider, you know, the
Whether it
reasons.
fits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
No,
is,
that's
this
fine.
is it's an absolutely fantastic concept.
It is.
And it has worked really, really well in urban areas, like where you say that people are more reliant on public transport, and those garages weren't being utilised because people weren't having cars there, or they weren't utilising that space. And it's well worth exploring something that's worked well in an urban setting within a rural setting. And we look at it and we explore it, and it might say, no, it's not going to work for us, but it doesn't mean to say that it shouldn't be explored. But what's really, really important is that our voices are being listened to, and I think this is a really lovely example of how the parish councils work together from the offset of when this project was, you know, first brought to our attention and things, and that we all have really, really spoken to the village, and I'm hoping that we are going to be listened to on it. But whatever comes of it, I'm really happy to have been involved with it and whatnot, just so that it could be explored, and that we've kind of, you know, looked at things that could be potentials in the future and things that are and aren't going to work for us.
And it's the same with the Belway Estate, actually.
But it's going to be very interesting
massive
if
impact.
highways aren't supportive of the bungalow conversions, how they're going to be able to be supportive of the Belway.
80 houses.
Yeah. Which I think was our main concern from the offset.
I think we've exhausted Husk.
Okay.
Do you have a report to add?
Yes, I've got
I recommend you all at the report on 24th of the 11th, and there was nothing of major interest to us all, other than we had a couple of invoices and some paperwork outstanding.
All done now.
Being done.
Thank you. Trevor?
Yes, well, a couple of sort of bigger things first of all. You know, I'm chairman of the Strategic Planning Committee, and a short while ago, as part of the levelling up agenda, we gave permission to JDR Cables, and cable manufacturing company in the renewable energy sector, who were going to establish a factory in Camas. 171 new jobs. This was a Polish company, and they've got very successful. They've got offices in Coventry and Hartlepool at the moment, and they're coming to that southeast corner, which, you know, has got the nickname Energy Central. I was there at the groundbreaking ceremony, and the nice thing about this investment was that all the bankers were there as well. The finance was there, which you know, was always a good thing to see. Polish Investment Bank, HRBC, they were all there pledging their support for this project, so really is going ahead. You know, the other big project, the massive car battery manufacturer, British Felton, you know, has been sort of toppling along. We're still hoping that's going to be all right, because again, you know, that was a tremendous amount of jobs coming to the northeast, 3,000, and a lot of secondary jobs. But you know, there is still no definitive decision on that, but we're hoping that that is still there as well. On the sort of levelling up agenda, the great things that have been happening in Northumberland, a lot with the Borderlands money, is the Lily Dory village in Alnwick, which again, you know, is going to boost our tourism and bring jobs within the sort of Alnwick Castle Garden complex. There's the Adgefren distillery at Wooler again, which, you know, we're hoping is going to bring a lot of jobs. And then, you know, we pumped a lot of money, or Woodlands rather, pumping a lot of money into the maltings at Berwick to sort of modernise the theatre and the entertainment there. So quite a lot on the sort of levelling up front. Today was the decision too, when we were meant to hear whether the A1 had got the tick or the cross behind it. And you know, it just seems to have been left out of the decision-making process. I know I've just been with Glenn Sanderson there, and he was saying he'd rung the MP to Anne-Marie to see whether she knew what was happening, and she'd been told nothing either, so we're still in the dark a little bit there. And what else? Yes, I was invited along. The Governor of the Bank of England came to the northeast to talk about the economy. That was very interesting. You know, they've got a rep office at the Helix Science City in Newcastle, and a lot of economists, sort of business people were there. He gave a good presentation. You know, his main theme was that the economy, as Mark Carney, the previous governor, predicted, is still running at about sort of 10% below pre-Brexit levels. But again, you know, he was emphasising that inflation was, you know, the major problem to get under control, running, you know, 10, 11% at the moment. He was saying the labour market's very tight. A lot of companies are struggling to fill vacancies. You know, and they were a little bit critical of the tight immigration policy. They were saying, you know, that could help a bit. But he was also saying how useful his liaison with British business. You know, we used to have probably 8 branches of the Bank of England around the country that do this liaison with businesses to see how they're operating. Those branches have closed now, but we still have these agents' offices which carry out this industrial liaison, which is very useful in feeding into, you know, the forecast that the bank tries to do to try and predict the economy. Also on the bigger picture, at the strategic planning, we gave permission to our first two solar farms about a month ago, one in Bedlington, one in Blythe. Both of these were quite big solar farms, 75 hectares of photovoltaic panels, and to be there for at least 40 years. Both of these farms could power small towns with 15,000 houses in them, so quite a big contribution to the renewable energy question. Devolution deal, you know, at the moment, the County Council, we operate a sort of North of Tyne collective. It's City Council, it's North Tyneside and Northumberland. Obviously central government aren't very happy with this arrangement because they wanted everybody to sort of buy into it. They wanted, you know, Gateshead, South Tyneside, to actually Durham, Sunderland councils to take part as well. And I think, you know, the way it's going at the moment, this devolution deal, it does look as though all sort of 7 authorities are going to buy into it. But
So the are or aren't?
are. You know, it's still not decided. Negotiations are still going on, but I think that is going forward. And, you know, we definitely benefited from, you know, just the 3 of us being in the North of Tyne. It has brought jobs, investment to the northeast. Locally, you know, I'm obviously still keen to support the Riverside project. I've never really been, you know, 100% behind the wood path. But if that is the only financial solution to getting down to the Riverside, then, you know, I am happy to go along with it. I've always thought, you know, viewing it from the other side of the river, aesthetically it doesn't fit in, I don't think, so well. It's, you know, a lot of wood, very cumbersome. You know, I would have liked to have seen a lighter structure. I can't remember how much I pledged the first time. Was it 5 or was it 10?
Well, I think it was 10.
I think it was 5.
I thought it was 15.
Are you still
But I'm still there with that. And, you know, I will give.
Thank you.
I will give some more money. I'll give 10. You know, I did contact Lindsay. I don't know if you got that message about me offering to plant some bulbs down that green strip, you know, the bit of grass. I did leave a message on your answer phone saying that I had this big bag of red Devons ready to plant, but...
Sure it was my answer phone?
Yes, I think so. Well, I got it from our friend down on Main Street there, who has just left the Parish Council. But obviously, you know, I'm quite happy to do that again, but I didn't want to go and plant any bulbs without permission.
At Riverside, there's a bit behind the fence at Riverside.
The bit behind the fence, yeah. You know, I just see that as a nice stretch of grass, and I don't know, it needs to be filled in with shrubs or trees, but, you know, for easy maintenance, you know, a little bit of colour, some bulb planting there might be nice. Yeah.
What do you know about the redefining of the boundaries?
Good question.
I know it's a contentious discussion.
Well, yes, you know, as a county councillor and somebody who's worked and lived in this area a long, long time, you know, I'm against what they're trying to do because I just feel, you know, it doesn't fit in at all with our view of Northumberland. You know, our little patch here has always been part of Alnwick or Morpeth. We feed into Alnwick and Morpeth for jobs, for investment, and it's only sense that we stay where we are. You know, I just think this whole sort of review is about making the numbers fit and getting extra voters over towards Hexham. Well, you know, it doesn't work, it's crazy. We've got no affinity with Hexham whatsoever, and, you know, I think we'd be forgotten about if we joined in with Hexham. So I'm very much against it and said so.
Is there any other reasons other than just headcount, to your knowledge?
The only reason I think can be headcount. There can't be any economical, you know, cohesive reason why we would be taken over there.
They probably don't like new housing being built. It's the wrong end of the Tyne Valley. It's very posh up there. So
yeah, but
that's
I
why they
don't
have
think it
enough
makes sense
population to
because
support them.
there's, you know, there's been no economical employment or any other justification for us other than numbers, I think. It does seem crazy.
I've put in a comment just emphasising the joint nature of the two villages and
I mean, the thing is,
How
it's still
interconnected
that
we are.
they would with Morpeth, but at the end, it just none of it makes any sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor.
American map for gerrymandering. All right, like an American map for gerrymandering.
Yes.
Thanks very much. See you, Trevor.
Item 10, update from Northumbria Police.
then I hope that it would come, but they haven't. They sent in apologies last time, didn't they? And they sent a report after the event, which wasn't helpful, so they may send it in. They do have all dates of meetings.
Had you heard anything about that, John?
Which one?
Any things that have been reported to the police in the village?
Which side of the
Police radio scanner.
CV up front.
I thought there had been an incident reported that I thought John was aware of as well, but it's what I've discussed with you.
It's not admitting it.
I don't
admit anything, it's fine.
It's fine.
We can wait for the next one.
Item 11, Bridge newsletter and Facebook page.
All right. Nothing to do with me. However, there is traffic water going around the village because it did then get parking tickets.
Yeah, he's been there a lot of times. It's down by school.
I looked down on the bridge.
Because I've seen them around school quite a few times to drop off and pick up.
I was parked in a spectacular location as he started tapping on it. Yeah, it wasn't very good. I wouldn't do it again.
Oh, that's fantastic that we've got a traffic warden to see.
I've seen them a couple of times, definitely.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Bridge newsletter and Facebook page. Bridge newsletter, it would be useful if we had a rota for doing the articles and we knew we were quite happy with the dates when they were due, rather than the fiasco of the last one.
When next?
It's the 10th every other month, isn't it? So we've just had, it was the 10th of November, the 10th of January.
Right.
Any reason why we shouldn't have a rota?
Because life changes. That's why. If I'd been voted on in the last couple of months, I can tell you that it wouldn't have happened. I can try and get something done for the 10th of January. Hopefully after our next Breckfield committee meeting, I'd like to do an update on that.
And the phone box.
Sorry?
About the phone box being
Well, the phone box is with County Council at the moment.
We're waiting for guidance as to what
She's running it past a few different departments for us.
10th of March, bridge article.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Do you not need some literary ability?
So that's what I like. Yeah, thank you very much.
You write it and then you send it to Claire and she says, why have you sent this to me? You picture it's in English and the words are actually the way around. Then she pings it back to Anne completely unchanged and then Anne will do something to it and then it'll be okay. So no, you don't need English ability.
10th of May.
In which case, just allocate it, they'll pass them on to you.
Yeah.
I ain't volunteering.
Okay, we'll allocate Chris then.
10th of May.
Okay, Chris?
If I'm around, yes.
Well, you can email equally well, can't you?
I can, but if I'm away for 2 months prior to that, it's not going to be a lot.
Well, we can deal with that near close to the time.
You can read the minutes and just review it.
July. Moving round the corner.
So, yeah.
August.
No, September.
Is every other month?
Yeah, well, I hope to do it sometime.
September.
I quite like writing, I just don't know what I write about.
Maybe something to do with the Parish Council.
Is that what it's for?
The Parish Council
Then
can do it.
he's not here.
November. Okay. Well, we should be able to report when we try and spell it out next week.
Content for Facebook page.
So I have set up a Facebook page, I've popped a couple of things on there, but I think, I was saying to Lindsay, I think the problem is I don't know really what you want on there, and I don't necessarily have time to create, it takes 2 seconds to upload it, but thinking about what to put on, and actually, I just want some guidance about, I suppose I can put the bridge articles can go on there as well as in the bridge. But it just looks a bit,
Preferably after the one.
yeah,
Otherwise,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
won't put them in the
no,
fridge.
but it just, it just looks a bit sparse, and I'm not really sure what kind of extra you want to put in there. I'm happy to give people admin things if they want to.
Because the thing is, because all the minutes are on the website, so maybe just a flag up saying that the minutes for the last thing are now on the website with the link to it when it comes up,
Okay.
and a notice of when the next meetings are for public attendance.
All the events are on there as Facebook events.
Right, okay.
Sorry, I put them on,
Yeah.
on as events, all the dates of meetings.
Could we put a commentary on about the husk?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we could put a.
Plannings. Summary of interesting planning stuff.
but I think where we've involved members of the public, like the discussion we had with guys about the proposed bungalows, that would be quite a good sort of newsy thing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just giving all the facts, but just say, you know, we had an interesting meeting when 7 people who have damages came down and, you know, argued really strongly for them. Because I think that's the sort of thing people are interested in.
Okay.
When we've got a planting day, volunteers to help plant trees.
Yeah. And Facebook should be a fast way of communicating.
And you can link it to Felton matters and
We can, I have done that, it's just I lack inspiration basically to instead of just like page. Thank you. Yeah, I just feel like I sit there and I think, well, what will I put on, and it's a bit.
Photos of the phone box disappearing and stuff like that. Because you can do pictures on it.
So if anybody thinks, oh, can you put if you just ping me something, it's something that I can do it. It won't take very long to put on. It's just yeah, there's inspiration. So if
You don't
anybody
have to
comes
write
across
that,
things,
Chris.
you don't have to write it. You can just
Do a picture.
ping it over. To
I've
say,
not been updated my own Facebook for the last 10 years.
yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I've got that one, yeah.
Item 12, Community Committee NCC Initiative. The NCC made a bit of a hoo-ha about emergency groups. Could we contribute?
So this, do you remember Trevor? It was one of the meetings where Trevor Thorne came and he basically brought us a few little flyers and he said, oh, they were starting they wanted to set up community-based groups that could respond in an emergency situation, you know, like a network for emergency situations. And we put it on our action list, and then it sort of sat there for ages because we effectively already have a number of informal networks within the village that function quite well. And when Lindsay and I were reviewing the action list, we sort of felt is there anything extra that we could or need to be doing, or are we happy that really the existing offering is quite sufficient? I mean, I know, I've got in touch with people recently about somebody, and immediately there's a group of people sorted it out, and it seems to work quite well. Just
It's not like we've got a building that we can do hot soup or,
exactly.
Come here because we've got electricity and you haven't. So I think perhaps just coordinating with other groups.
As a newcomer to a village, it has been fascinating how all sorts of problems are handled by other people. Other villagers just step forward and take somebody for elderly person for hairdressing or anything like that. Yeah. There is help. The principle is there.
Like when, this time last year, when the path was full of trees, within about half an hour there was a dozen, 18 people there, humping. And I think in times of crisis, Felton is pretty good at coming out and helping people. But to have maybe a list of phone numbers would be a good idea.
A telephone tree.
Yeah.
Is that something for your Facebook page?
Brave to put your telephone number on that.
I don't know, because I think that's the thing, that there already are a number of informal telephone trees. Like, I know I made one phone call and suddenly a large number of people knew about the issue I'd raised and were dealing with it. So I think it's sort of whether we need to man one, and then with all the GDPR issues that go along.
But it's how other people get onto the tree.
Yeah.
There's people who don't go out and about Felton through the day because they go to work, but they're still very able-bodied and would help if somebody needed it. But unless there's a platform, how do you get it out there? Unless that's something else that we could do, then we could put it on Facebook. Such and such needs some help this Saturday at 10 o'clock. Who's available? But then that's only allowing people on social media.
Yes, because it's difficult if you haven't got a phone that's being manned, because the church has very good networks. The church wardens are normally a bit going, you don't have one of those at the moment. But BT unfortunately disconnected the vicarage. So the phone line with the church's number on it no longer exists, thanks to BT from the current tenant. But, that's a case where we've got two people who are church wardens who are both retired and therefore near phones, and the vicar whose job is to answer the phone when it rings.
I mean, during COVID,
We don't have that.
there was a mobile that got passed around. That's how they did it during that time.
Yeah, that was Barnabas's phone, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it just got passed. It got passed from person to, whoever was manning it. It was almost like an on-call. You're offered to be on call for a certain amount of time, and then you got given the phone.
Great idea.
There's not going to be a simple solution to this. It all depends on what sort of emergency might crop up. And
I actually think we just need to utilise the Facebook page for it, and I think also we need to kind of actually have a strategy for actually making links with the groups that are already doing it and communicating with them how I want it to be, we're here as well as part of it. And I think that is as simple as that to start with. Unless we were to suggest at some point that we have a whole village conglomerate meeting about future emergencies.
Could that be something on the agenda for a parish meeting on the next one?
It's a good idea.
Could be.
well, we do have. Everybody knows all the associated groups of all sorts, whether they're knitters or the women's mafia or whatever. Sorry, the WI.
We've got two members. Quite heavy. We've got two members in the public. Be careful. They'll report you back.
Oh,
Only to Abby.
Yeah, you might go and rule for a week.
What's new?
Okay,
Well,
I'll just say cake.
the thing that Alison's done with
the
warm
warm
places.
I know, I was just thinking that, is that the first place to start? Do we sort of start with liaising with them and then expand
Yeah.
outwards?
But also you could, on Facebook and in the bridge, you could from time to time say, here's some people to contact if you need help with X, Y or Z, and then that picks up the existing linkages and networks.
It's just people's data, putting it out like that, is always a word for worry.
Sorry?
Putting people's data out into circulation like that is a bit of a worry sometimes, phone numbers or...
Well, they'd have to be, they give people their phone numbers because they want to be able to help.
Yeah, it's putting it out to the wide world.
Okay, well, if you're not going to put it out, then you're not going to put it out. Then it all relies on people knowing
Well,
where to go and who to go to.
in my opinion, it works as is.
How do we know if people are slipping through the net?
We don't, yes, exactly.
We don't.
I think we actually need to ask the people that are involved with it at the moment, what could the parish council do? Can we do anything to help? And, how can we be involved with it so that we can make it into a more formalised village, strategy and infrastructure that we've got there? And I think asking them, the people that are already doing it, would be the easiest way of going about it.
Yeah, if the council is going to take a leading role, then it's also got to be able to say what resources we can contribute. So is it manpower, is it money? Is it influence with the
Cares
county
from my head
council?
at the moment, that I could just, could offer right.
I think it's a case of putting something on Facebook and the like to say that if you are in need, contact the parish council. Because everybody here knows, like you say, most of the groups all can make enough noise to get helpers when needed and see how it goes. You don't know how bad it's going to be until it actually happens, but if it's a flood or a storm or a power cut or whatever, then you react differently, don't you?
We're all just watching out
Oh,
now.
I'm so sorry, it's not meant to be a drama. I've just put my elbow repeatedly in something that's very sticky and I just kept attaching myself to the table. So I just thought I would do something about it. I apologise, this is not a drama. I am not doing performance art or anything
Right.
else.
And then we'll see what they say initially, and then we'll look to sort of, once we know what's happening already, we can look at what we can doing things like, contacting the parish council.
Okay.
Or funding it for it can be passed from person to person.
Item 13. WI request for access to Retfield container for storage is the item as written, but they clearly do have some storage capacity at the moment.
They already have access, so they already have some equipment stored in the same sheds, same container as the football equipment. But I think somebody had let you into the.
Marion.
Yeah, that's what I
Marion
thought.
gave me a key.
I said it was Marion. So they have got their own key, so it was just to ask the council to approve the WI having its own key for storing its equipment now that it's got an activity, so it's got its own little activity subcommittee that is trying to provide more and varied opportunities for WI members and wider community to engage in activities on Retfield.
Can I ask the question, is there room in those containers?
Yes.
There is.
So there's three boxes that we had for the fair, and we've now emptied one of them. So two's got fair stuff in, and one has literally got nothing in it. So we want to keep a first aid kit, bats and balls, croquet set, that sort of thing in there. And rather than go and get the key from Marion every month, it would be sensible to have our own.
There is actually quite a bit of room in there because obviously the footballers aren't using that. And
But even with
but with potentially there's maybe some poles that we can use, so if we do play like rounders or more sports, that we can have some maybe standalone equipment.
Still makes sense?
I'll give a toss out the hand grenade here.
Yes, fine.
Well, that's all
Brace,
right.
brace.
Parish Council spent quite a bit of money buying the containers. They're used for the WI. Would the Parish Council consider charging a small rent?
No.
I feel it should be asked. Should
Just
it
playing
have-
devil's advocate.
For what purpose? For what purpose?
We've spent money, we should be getting it covered.
No.
Well, it's
Yeah.
I spent villagers' money.
And when we charging rent, what rent are we getting off football?
Well, I'll just ask, well,
None,
What rent do you get from the fair?
none.
Right. Although we did have our own container.
Yeah,
until
but
they
I mean,
moved it,
yeah,
changed it.
yeah.
You just asked,
That's right.
you just asked.
Okay, that's
You
fine.
did say it was going to be a hand grenade.
And
Who was? It's community asset, community use.
It's sitting there doing nothing, I think it was shameful because it wasn't used effectively.
You just want to stay on the right side of the map here, okay?
Otherwise you might get locked in there. For a period of detention.
Yeah, if he disappears when he's supposed to be in his allotment one day.
14, grit bin for
I'll
cocoa.
need to
I'll
consider
need
it.
to approve that. Do we need to approve that?
I think we all
Yes,
do.
we all think they should have a key.
Good idea.
Sorry, it doesn't have to be straight away, but
I don't know, I'll have a look, 'cause I've already got one, but if not, I'll get married off her and get it copied.
Do you think the WI should pay to get it cut?
No, I don't.
It could always
But
be
it
used
has
as
to
a
come back
spare
to us if
key.
you stop using it.
oh god, yes.
Parish asset.
Well, the other thing is, don't make copies. Keys have a way of reproducing.
No, it would only be one key.
One key.
Would it be worth getting a combination lock instead, so you don't have to worry about keys?
No, because they fail on those units.
Plus there's other users as well. Well, just add an added
We
extra.
have a gate post at work which has got 3 padlocks linked together because nobody will share a key. So all of the
yeah, I
padlocks
know
go
that.
through each other, so
Yeah,
anybody can open the same chain. It's daft.
yeah, I've come across that.
Well,
before.
also, they just like seed up down there, don't they,
Yeah.
the combination locks.
All the kids will sit there playing with it.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Item 14, eventually. Grit bin for Cocoa Park. If NCC aren't going to pay for one, do we shut out? I would think yes, because I would add that it's quite a slope.
Interrupt just for a second. Quite a lot of the grip bins in Felton need replaced, and if we're going to go and buy one, we may as well think about actually buying a few and replacing everything else, because the salt is getting wet, so it's useless. And
Well, it's also leaking out and destroying grass areas,
well, that's right.
lines.
So perhaps Chris has just finished compiling the asset register.
I think we have to replace them when they break. I think some of those stupid things, it's like the waste bins that although county council takes responsibility for emptying or filling or anything, that we actually look for some reason have to buy the actual physical structure.
So a query on the grip bin, see if we purchase another grip bin, will the county council then flip?
I don't know. I think we would have to buy. I think they fill their normal ones, but we would have to pay for the grip for that because I think that happens in the and just report that one as empty.
Are all the other grip bins county council managed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sure I've seen on the top of those grip bins, if this is broken or damaged, phone this number and we'll replace it.
Yeah.
I think there's only about 3 with a number on.
Yes, because it can damage beyond repair. But if you've got that number, it says on there, phone up and
But I think
replace it.
I think we have been told before that we would have to pay. Well, I mean, it's worth trying.
Even if they come and replace them and give us the bit,
Yeah.
we don't have to worry about emptying them and taking the old bit away.
And just charge us for it.
They'll probably get a better rate than what we'll get.
But we need a few of them.
Well, when we count up how, so back to Cocoa Park where we need it. So I think we do have to pay for the. I think potentially there is an additional charge on the grit as well because it's not. They have tried. They've been passed around department to department trying to find the criteria that they're applying. But it is very slippy, but do you remember,
council tax.
we raised it.
We
Yeah, but they're being told that it's not a complete criteria
That
from
tarmac
the
has always been slippy.
It is, and this is for future planning and things in the village. Is the, I mean, it was the same down part view. It's like it's got a microclimate of its own. And they put it down, and then we're having to then pay to, you know, for the grit and things for ongoing. And is there a way that this can be prevented? There's got to be something different that they're doing.
Well, they claimed it was the same tarmac, but it is not.
It's not. It's
That, where they resurfaced the,
yeah.
the labour, that will work there, and that bump, oh, it's lethal. Even the wettest lethal, they're nice.
A grit bin is 120 quid.
Is that VAT? Is that including VAT?
Give us a sec. Well, I assume so, because it says purchase now, 118.90. Yeah, so, yeah, £99 plus that. It includes a scoop. But, you know,
How many,
This
do
could be attached
you
to it,
know
so it's
roughly
get
how many
pitched.
need replacing?
2, I think.
it's 200.
Oh, right.
Two.
Two.
That was more.
Church banks.
I don't know, it's on that list.
It's on the list, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's one that's empty.
But it might, as you say, it might be worth asking if they have them for sale, if they can buy them through them. I think they said, I think they don't do any of that sort of stuff. I think we tried to get a bin through them last time. We needed a
Why?
bin.
There's one on Rec Lane that looks very new. Is that yours?
No, it's ancient, it's falling apart.
Is that the green one?
Yeah.
It's falling apart.
Brand new.
Is it?
It's brand new.
They look
But maybe
It's a lot newer than some of the others.
So that does meet NCC criteria, presumably, on a private road?
I don't think that, I think,
They didn't fill it the last time they came round.
I don't think it is. I think it's I think that's why it's a green, I think it's a different one, I think that's why it's
It's green.
green.
What's in there is pretty much just sand now anyway. So, can the Property Management Committee confirm how many we need replacing?
Yeah, we've got a list, so we'll have a look at that.
It's,
Right.
Yeah, I did get the list off us today, it was very large, so, it's
Is there
drop box,
anything
it, so we can send the
village
drop,
that
it's happy for me to send the drop box
Yes.
next to them, I don't know,
So we can sort that out.
yeah. Right. So in principle, are we happy to put one at Coker Park?
Yes.
Yeah, all those in favour?
And I will ask NCC if they'll replace it, because we'll see.
Correspondence to receive. List of correspondence, page 12.
The speeding question comes up again, and there was an email about speeding which I just sent back, you know, all of us. That's an idea to put in the bridge, you know, a paragraph in the bridge and on the Facebook page about what we've, you know, how we would try to address the speeding issue, because we do get asked repeatedly.
Is there anything we can do as an independent organisation?
I don't think so. I think
You can't put a state regulation down or anything like that.
no, anything like any traffic calming measures have to go through the local transport programme. We do ask the police to attend from time to time. They say that they do. There's been the speeding survey. We did get originally told we could maybe have a community speed watch, and then it's sort of their training situations. They stop training community members. But how that works is we would volunteer in another village and they would come volunteer in our village. So
My personal experience is, whilst we do get speeders,
yeah.
we don't get the quantity of speeders which would dictate any resource being spent on it. So unless we can do something independently, you're never going to gain a solution.
Facebook page just explaining what we've
I
tried.
think that'd be a good idea.
Can we put people's registration numbers on Facebook?
I don't think I won't be doing that now. If you want to start up some sort of vigilante profile of your own and do it.
Well, you don't have to put your name under it. Just say, Carly's registration.
It's quite obvious that it's
was
people
stated
sticking over it.
speaking to your village and cut off
Area
afternoon.
from my bedroom window. And then
And
just
a
a
photo
of people parking on Main Street.
Right, no, I won't be doing that. Sorry.
Oh.
Right, happy with correspondence? Nothing.
I just asked, you had the person doing the traffic warden person, were they a traffic warden or were they a police warden?
They were traffic, I think they were traffic order.
They were traffic.
Yeah, they had the like,
Red thing on there.
and they're definitely targeting, I don't know if the school's brought it up or if it's been a parent or somebody, but they've definitely targeted the school junction around. I wonder if it's been prompted, well maybe it is, but no, they've definitely been targeting because they've been
Turning up at the right time.
turning up at pick up and drop off when they saw people parked on the curbs and all sorts. And you see people sort of do a loop go back.
Bellway probably said maybe what we said the other night.
I think it's before then.
Was it? The only reason why this is what I thought had been reported to the police was an incident that happened down the road from me with regards to the parking over the bit of the pavement where they've got the dropped curbs. There was an incident there which became verbally and physically involved after somebody parked on the pavement, which was particularly unpleasant. And I thought it had been reported to the police.
Never said anything, but it always is quite delayed because I think it's like, if you remember, it's almost like a month in arrears that we get.
Yeah, but I think again that is becoming, well, it is an issue ongoing, that area of pavement.
So it's down for you, isn't
We
it?
did pick up on this when we did our walk around.
Yeah.
It's in the document of issue. We'll have a basic solution, we'll stick some roadblocks down there.
Yeah,
And I think that's something.
I mean they're going to be a little bit, but I think we could make it look very nice if we can get consent to do that and still have enough space for a mobility scooter and a
It's quite
triple
wide
buggy.
there, though, isn't it?
It's really wide and a triple buggy because at the moment
So it's near Coca Vale.
Yeah, that bit.
It wouldn't, you could impede a vehicle accessing it without
Oh yeah, without impeding anybody else.
drop curb bit at all. And the residents there that we asked said that they'd be more than happy to maintain
Yeah.
if there were flower pots for instance, they'd be more than happy to buy the plants and maintain them, look after them.
Yeah.
Because in the interest of safety. I saw an Alancom vehicle there with all these hazard lights flashing, and as I walked past, it was shining into the windows of those houses, and you just think it must be so frustrating sitting there. And they have raised complaints say they've come out of their door as a truck's gone past or a tractor or something parking to go to the shop or whatever. Tesco delivery vans, so there was pictures emailed to me like that. So it's just, we understand there's an issue with parking there, and the grounds of safety, so it needs to be done.
We had a DPD truck parked in the middle of Main Street, just outside our house, and several of the neighbours had some acerbic words to say about it. The guy was there for 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, they would just park across the end of Red Lane as well.
Yeah, they do that too.
We could do something in the way of buying big planters.
Do we need to get consent from county for putting planters there on the public?
No, apologise after.
Just do it.
Just do it.
You can always move them, they're not solid.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all over the pavement. We've got planters up and down all Main Street anyway at the moment.
I think as long as it's big enough that you couldn't accidentally trip over it. If you had one that was at least
They need to be,
A big half barrel.
half a load of concrete.
Same size as those on the bridge.
Yeah.
We costed replacing the bridge ones. Where do we get to with those costs?
Well, there was a question about, do you get the composite ones like we have replaced them, or do you just go and get another wooden one? Because, you know, the wooden ones definitely have got a lifespan. So it's whether or not you go down the composite or wood.
With something that
We were
size.
also told that those parts don't belong to the Parish Council, is that right?
The ones on the end of the bridge do, our end of the bridge do.
We were told they belong to Felton Blue.
That's what I was told too.
Felton
They're all
Blue,
pan-
I
They
don't
don't
think
have their
own
own,
anything.
they don't own anything, it's all Parish Council, they're looked after by Felton and Blue. I think
Did I say something for the fair?
the
Oh, the fair one, the tree one.
Tree one.
It's just
Is
the fair.
definitely
Just that one.
that big one.
I mean, but if you get a composite on that side with the weight of the tree in it, is there too big a strain on? I mean, what's the strength of the plastic? It is just.
I think
Can I just say our plastic ones
I
haven't
just-
stood up as long as the wooden ones?
No,
I
I
just
think
wasn't
also
sure.
you've got to recognise it's a conservation area, and some of the plastic ones that have been put out, they are. And also, it's just to maintain, you know, I mean, that has to be our land to be putting it on. Because we had an incident where a planter was removed outside my house, which belonged to Felton and Blue, but it was off my land. And it was, wasn't particularly happy about it. So just need to double check everything before we do it.
Removed by whom?
Sorry,
Removed by the council.
Greg? Wasn't it?
Council.
The plants were removed. I
Sorry?
understand the plants were removed. I don't remember the plants being removed. I know the plants were removed.
The half barrel?
Yeah, I don't remember the half barrel being taken.
No, I don't know. Anyway, it was
before we
Felton and Blue, I think.
Yeah.
I remember there was an incident. I remember it went away and went back, came back again.
No, we replaced it, we got a new one.
I think that's,
I remember it was a topic.
There was one stolen off the end of the bridge.
Was there? Yeah. I don't know, anyway, it was a misunderstanding anyway, but what I'm saying is just to make sure.
So you're saying make it as heavy as possible?
So coming back full circle,
So wood then? So
big half,
No, I think from our inspection the other day, the wood just not last.
Right.
yeah, but
Well,
it's,
that
We
one
state
that's
the
got the
condition
tree.
of all the hubs around the village, all the composite plastic ones are far superior in quality.
Right.
The one that's got the Christmas tree in has been there a large number of years, and it has served valiant service until recently where the strut's gone. And it could be repaired, but, you know.
I think the wooden ones look better, but I think the plastic ones probably do that for them. I don't know.
Mine frosted and cracked.
Well, should we have a look at
Can
see
you
what's
get the
available?
the prices, because if what, it
Yeah.
might turn out that one of them's astronomical compared to the other, and then that might make it.
Yeah, and it's also, like I say, you've got to see that it's quite a camber that bit is on, so it's going to be something that's going to have to look right on an angle.
not too vertical.
Yeah.
sorry, you had a gentleman, I think 2 or 3 meetings ago, and it's my understanding that he was making comments about the parking outside the doctor's surgery and that about getting past. So if you can think about that area as well, all of the wider pavements, not just the one area that's down there.
Yeah, when is it we've got the police coming that we were going to...
No, they were supposed to come today, weren't they?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought, which is why I thought we were going to be...
I'll ask
discussing
if we can maybe just try and have a
Yeah.
slight meeting with them if it fits better with their shift pattern, because I think that's often the problem, that they get, either their shifts don't work or they get called out to something else.
Because I think that the issues around where the doctor's surgery are is going to require some strategic planning of how we're going to address that. And I don't think there's going to be an easy solution or one that everybody is going to be happy with.
For the doctor's surgery, presumably that's going to be a temporary, well, a short term till the new surgery is built.
it's residents' park.
Yeah.
So it's cars that are there at night. They park 3 abreast and stuff, that's the issue.
Right.
The police have actually, I think going back a couple of years, actually we had the officers out here with one of their sort of afternoon sessions here, and they did follow up on the parking, and there were residents parking, and actually the police themselves didn't want to pursue it because they would actually have to be at that point when vehicles were driving onto the pavement or driving off the pavement, and they weren't prepared to do that. And when they were talking to the residents themselves, the residents made it clear that they would just ignore them and park there. So I appreciate that it will be a difficult situation, but you know, I've been down that session when you can't, you physically have to be like this to go through the cars, and obviously you're aware.
You wouldn't get a buggy through.
You can't get a buggy, and what it does do is encourages then cars, which I have seen and taken photographs of, cars fully parked on the pavement to the north of that bit, so they're totally straddling the pavement. You have to actually go on the road to then get back into it. There was a car the other day, Minnie drove up over from near Marion's house to park up there, so that was four cars on the pavement.
So my only concern is if the Parish Council pay for a pot outside of one resident down Main Street for a problem there, and you don't address the other problems up the street of parking on the pavement, whether it's outside the surgery or on the other side a little bit higher up, are you not lining yourself open to criticism? And therefore maybe it needs to be a strategic decision about all of it. And as you know, and the same about access, blocking access, as Lindsay said, we regularly see vans parked over recreation lane. We've had people parking in the arch to go to Gallery 45 or for deliveries and things, and they're quite unpleasant about it. And the council won't reinstate the white lines over entrances anymore. They said as they wear out, they will just be allowed to wear out. But you know, maybe if we could at least stop people parking on some of the footpaths and things, because the footpaths as you come down up between Gallery 45 and the shop are disintegrating anyway, where people have parked, and then up outside the surgery. So I'm just aware that if you try and solve the problem outside of Colquitt Vale as a parish council, you lay yourself open to criticism. Maybe if the individual who owns the property was prepared to do
Can I
something.
make the point that if we don't address one point, we can't address any.
Yes, so I just mean does it not need to be a decision about all of it at once?
I think on this one, there is an obvious, simple, attainable solution. However, with the other areas, the way it's at the moment, we need to get external advice on how to deal with that. And the first one was hoping that the police were going to be here today so we could have a proper discussion with them about it. And I probably would want to discuss it with the police, even the one that we are looking at a solution tonight. I mean, it is glaringly obvious that we've got an absolute crisis with regards to parking within that whole stretch of the village. You know, it is absolutely horrendous. And as someone who lives there, parks there, and has had to try to safely negotiate skips and delivery vehicles over the past few months, I'm all but aware of how bad that is. But it's like, if we don't start somewhere, we're never going to start addressing it. And I think this particular bit is something that we can explore as something we can potentially get a solution to, and then move on from that. I think for us to have a blanket policy for that whole stretch of the village, we will literally talk ourselves around in circles for the next 5 years, which is very easy to do when you try to bite off more than you can chew.
If we would buy some big half barrels and put them down by the entrance to Colquitt Vale, if county or anybody else throws a wobbly at it, we can just pick them up and move them.
They'll not all just come and take them.
Sorry?
They'll just come and take them. They won't ask you whose they are, they'll just come and remove them.
Richard?
I'd just like to make a little observation. I've worked out that house owners who have 2 cars or 3 cars are very often occupying more space than their frontage on our end of Main Street, because I haven't been able to park my car outside the house for the last week, more or less. I don't know whether there are lots of visitors, but lots of new cars have appeared.
It's been very busy recently. I think it's been very busy recently on Main Street. There's been a
Well,
lot of cars.
I observed, one of my neighbours acquired a new car. I thought it was a replacement, but they've got 2 now. So if you start preventing parking on the pavements, you are actually going to push people who may be resident to wondering where they're going to put their car. So it is, you know,
I think
it is a strategic issue, and the only solution is to have a car park somewhere. But we haven't got that far.
Hang on, we're going round and round in circles here.
We are.
The basic point is the question of safety. Is there a need for urgent action to maintain safety?
Yes, well, I agree with that.
Could we put a bollard at each end?
Beg your pardon?
Could we not just put a bollard at each end?
No, it's a bit dangerous for us in the day.
Fix that second, wouldn't it?
I think the thing is that the residents that are there are also aware that the other option for that stretch of pavement is to have a parking arrangement going onto the pavement, which is what they've said that they don't want. I mean, that is a large area, and you could potentially get more cars parked at a different angle than, I know we've looked at it for the whole street and said it wouldn't work for the whole of Main Street, but that particular bit doesn't have any posts or anything coming out of it in the midsection of it. They don't want that there, but what they don't want is people driving within 2 foot of their front door to drive over that pavement, which is dangerous. And we've had numerous complaints about it, and then I witnessed this happen the other day, which was thoroughly unpleasant. It wasn't a village resident, to my knowledge, that was parking there, but they were particularly aggressive towards the resident. And I think, you know, we need to be doing something about it and looking into it. And I think we need to get County Council and Highways back involved and looking at parking within the village. Whatever we're doing, and, you know, there is that potential that we can have this simple solution at the moment, but there might be other options that we can explore with it. But either way, I don't think we can be seen to just ignore it and brush it under the carpet, because I think it is, you know, it is a safety concern.
Hang on. This is not an agenda item at the
Sorry.
moment. We have strayed considerably. We will make it an agenda item for the next.
But if we can try and arrange meetings, so I'll try and get Harry's out before that to look at it, so we've got some answers for next time, and we can have a look at prices for pots and everything. At least we can hopefully take it forward in an informed way at the next meeting.
Item 16, planning. 16 Riverside, High House, 20 Main Street. Malthoff Lane garages, studio. Anything of consequence? Nothing of consequence happening anywhere.
It's just the garages which I'm putting the objection in on.
Okay, on planning. Ongoing matters, the new format list.
Sorry, I haven't figured out extra spare colours because my computer decided it was only going to print in small pale blue because I replaced the cartridge.
We obviously didn't buy a proper one.
I did. It comes from the place. But yeah, we rearranged the format a little bit to look a bit more, to be a bit more detailed.
Practical.
Yeah.
Matters arising from it. GP surgery land at Cocoa Park. Now we own it, we can expect Bellways to stop looking after it. We will need to instigate a maintenance programme for it. Property management. Whether we need to.
Well, I mean, it sort of depends as well whether Bellway notified the management company and whether we just sort of wait for that to happen.
However, if it's not getting built on in the very, very near future, and we want to plant it with something pretty and maintainable for next year. Sorry?
One's a lady cars,
I was just thinking yellow raptor was what I was thinking, but
Cars look nice and
cars look like if they can park over yellow rattle, that's absolutely fine. It's a completely feasible option.
Yeah, we'll need to know.
Watch the space. Any matters arising from that? Okay. This was part of the original agenda associated with the agenda. Everybody should have seen it, read it, inwardly digested. Okay. Items for next agenda.
I'll pick up the ones I've already mentioned.
Neighbourhood plan. And if we grow up neighbourhood plan, will it be supported?
With every ounce of my being.
Sorry.
With every ounce of my being.
So Gemma would
That's left over.
we would need, I mean, I can speak to Adam and Aaron as well, but we probably need a couple of extra councillors as well as Gemma that were interested in taking it forward to make it work.
Well, we'll put it on the agenda.
We don't have a budget for it now.
But
there's
there's loads of money available from the council to just apply for grants.
Right, okay.
Will we have some, anything back about the ramp? You know, wood and.
Oh, it's all, yeah, I've got the commissions, I've left messages to Ronan, just waiting for him to come back and let me know if he needs to amend his price at all, but we did agree some contingency in that, so it should be fine.
We need to extend the work to include new fencing all the way along that line.
Along the top of the edge.
Yeah, the fence is sort of formed.
We've asked, and I'll check with NC's, yeah, okay.
Is that our fence or their fence?
That's, I think,
If it's on the top of there.
I think we've had something on that before, so I'll have a look back to see if I can
And
find
taking down trees.
trees.
And planters.
Talking of fences, that white fence,
Oh,
The
I know, I've got
dramatic
recent,
those police.
I know, I've got new photos to send to them, because it
Was
was,
it a school cut through?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's like, you could look at it.
yeah.
Was it you, Lindsay?
So it was not Lindsay. Nudged it, his foot goes past, no. No, it is Pat, I have taken some recent photos.
Not when anybody's watching.
The child stands on that as the kids do, straight through it and calls himself a motorist.
I know.
That's dangerous.
Dangerous. Okay.